Yo, what's going on? It's Terrell, Hall of Fame, D-Line, and all that other good shit. Anyway, man, I appreciate all the love y'all been giving me, sending me in different requests and liking the page. The numbers is going up. That's always a wonderful thing. This one, as I promised, is about hips and shoulders. And earlier, if you've seen the video where I talked about elbows, they all go hand in hand. It's all the assembly to get down, from the body to the ground, and that's the foundation. Well, this is why I said that the hips and shoulders are very, very, very important. Any dog with bad hips will not live a good long life. It's just that simple. What happens is, for those who don't know, the hip and the shoulder assembly is almost it's basically a ball and socket. The bone grows inside of, which is basically, like I say, a socket, and you have your cartilage in there, and it's supposed to flow very, very smooth, fit in there very nicely. Well, what happens is, when you have a dog with bad hips, or even bad shoulders for that matter, we never talk about the bad shoulders, is that assembly can go bad, and what will happen is that bone that goes into the socket a lot of times will deteriorate. That deterioration on most people, if we were talking about people, would result in a hip replacement surgery, which is a major thing. But with dogs, we can't do that. Once that deteriorates to a certain point, the dog is in pain. It doesn't have the ability to exercise well. It starts to contort its body a lot to take away from the pain. So what you'll tend to have is extra stress on the spine. As I've told y'all, the spine is very important because of neurological reasons, amongst other reasons, But when they contort their body, sometimes they sink their back in, just like people do when we're in pain. We sort of change everything about the way we stand in our posture. But what can happen is the extra stress on the spine can cause neurological issues. And those neurological issues can affect everything from the basic function of the entire body. It can affect the immune system. It can affect the reactions of the dog, the mood of the dog. It can even affect the organs of the dog, because that's your central nervous system there, and everything runs through that. And it's a long, tedious process, but sometimes not that long. I've seen a lot of dogs, especially Dax dogs. I'm not going to bite my tongue, but I've seen litters of Dax dogs have to be put down with horrible hips. I've had now maybe 6, maybe 7 people who have called me that have had to put their dogs down at under 2 years old because the dog couldn't walk anymore. The dog was in pain because of the hips had degenerated to that level. This is a very serious thing, and the best way to do it, like is done with Rottweilers and other breeds with hip issues, is you either breeding an excellent or a good hip. If you're not getting your dog's hips tested, and you're not following the protocol that if your dog has bad hips, to not breed that dog, then the bottom line, you're a shit breeder. It gets no simpler than that, because you're putting genes into a dog that's going to cause this dog's quality of life to be terrible. No breed, and I mean not in one breed, should you ever have a reason to breed a dog with bad hips or bad shoulders. Now, if you're looking for reasonings of how these dogs have bad hips, some of them are born just with a bad assembly of the hip to begin with, and it degenerates pretty fast. But we also go back to the issues of the lower parts, and it's just like this. I want you to, if you want to see how it feels on your hips, take one leg, stand on that one leg, hold on to something, and start to lean towards that same side that one leg is on. Feel the tension that comes in your hip. Now, that's because your angulation is changing. That's in you. Your legs should be straight up and down. Some of us are bow-legged. I laugh because I'm slightly bow-legged, but when you feel that extra torque come onto the hip, that's what's happening. That ball is being pushed all basically out of the socket. Even though it's not leaving, it's a lot of tension on there, and it's destroying the socket. Well, dogs who have, easty-westy feet, the bone and that joint is not properly fitted because the angulation of the legs is different. Bowed elbows is the same way. With that extra torque on the elbows, there's also some extra torque up top in the shoulder assembly that is causing more friction and more stress on those joints there. And they're not designed to work like that. They're designed for even weight placement and for the dog to be able to function at a good level regardless. So this is why, as you watch the other videos, it is super important to start with good feet up through the elbow all the way into the shoulder or the hip. Because if you have that, as I've told you before, think of it like a table. If you have that straight leg, bam, in the ground, you are stable. I don't care what it is, if it's boxing, if it's if it's football, you know what I mean? You have a solid base when those legs are planted solid. Not at no point do they tell you to spread your legs out or stand with your feet too tight. And this is basically what we're doing with our dogs. When it's curved in, the feet are too tight, extra tension on the elbows, extra tension on the shoulders. When the feet are splayed too far apart, extra tension on the medial collateral, which is the inside of the elbows, and or knee, however we want to look at it. And there's also extra torsion on extra torque on the shoulders. You know, that extra torque on the shoulders, it has to be relieved somewhere. It goes into the spine, you know, contorting the back to take the pressure off of the elbows. You know, sometimes it goes into the rear end as the weight shifts backwards because we don't want to see it in the shoulders, or vice versa. We shift the weight forward heavily because the rear end may be too high, which is a terrible angulation problem to begin with, and will be my next video. But everything is supposed to fit. Everything. This is why conformation is so important. Conformation is just not about looks. This is about function. This is about putting the animal together properly so that everything fits in a fashion that this animal will be healthy and have the ability to live a strong and healthy life. These are things that need to be recognized, and I'll talk more about issues that we need to recognize in our breed and we need to eliminate. There is never an excuse to breed dogs with serious issues. And I do look at anything structurally as a serious issue. A tail, you don't deserve to win a show with a bad tail, but it's not a huge issue in a breeding program from my experience. I've seen a lot of dogs with bad tails throw great dogs with good tails, and for generations you don't see it come back up. But when we talk about hips and different things like that, we have to be a lot more careful. But I'll check y'all out on the next video, man. God bless y'all. Y'all make sure y'all getting them dogs registered. TBKCdogs.com. There's some forms on there, but if you have any questions, which you should, tbkcdogs@gmail. Get those dogs registered. We setting up shows right now. It's been a blessing, man. I thank y'all for all y'all support. I'm feeling rejuvenated. Much love. Peace.